Hi again, everybody. It's Larry Steckline, the Steckline Report. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Cuba to get started here. We got several things we want to cover today, but Cuba is a prime object on my mind constantly because I've been there several times. I traveled there with our Secretary of Agriculture twice. We've been looking at that country 90 miles from the borders of the United States as a real key issue in picking up some export business for several of our crops. Haven't been able to do much with it over the past 5 or 6 years. There's been a lot of bills introduced in Congress to help the situation, but it isn't happening. My last trip there a couple of years ago indicated that there was very little, if any, progress being made in that country in the world of agriculture. I just couldn't believe the little bit of goods that they produce, what they produce them with. And I'm not exaggerating, folks, when I tell you they still have oxen and plows, no tractors. All of this after their debacle with Russia. They need product everywhere. Anything from a pair of pliers to a tractor to a combine to a planter, they need it all. And so what a market it's going to be for us if that country ever opens up, even if it's not a big country. They need so much of what we have that it'll be a gold mine for many. And we'd like to have it a gold mine right now for our farmers. We ought to be exporting wheat, for example. They import from France, 3,000 miles away. We could ship it a couple of hundred miles, and can you imagine the difference in cost? But because of government issues, we can't. There's a couple of things happening. We did have President Carter there a week or so ago. He's come back with very little information that seems exciting. I don't see anything that he brought back that's going to make a difference, but I can tell you that Cuba has authorized, and I want to read this to you, government banks to offer credit to farmers now, and also small business owners. That's a key in getting something going on a positive step for production. The government has granted tens of thousands of businesses licenses to new entrepreneurs. They've also loosened restrictions in order to allow farmers to sell their goods at roadside stands. They couldn't do that in the past. Isn't that basic, friends? One of the challenges facing the new business there, and I guarantee you this will be a big problem for the next 50 years as they grow, and that is financing. They need somebody like American Ag Credit, big time, to help. Folks, I can promise you they'll need that first before they get anything else. What about the Japanese disaster? We're checking in on that on a daily basis. Not a lot of changes there. We still see a lot of port destruction, but the big ports escaped big destruction. That's the good news. And a lot of small ports were heavily damaged. They're still shipping goods in there. Some of our goods that get there have to be sent to another port because that one isn't working. They're having blackouts for electrical problems, of course, due to their nuclear disaster. And so sometimes those mills can't operate or they can't unload ships, so that's holding things up. Long story short, it's going to hurt our exports for 30 to 60 to 90 days, in my opinion. Everybody else is just guessing, and nobody knows for sure. But I believe this: when it's all said and done, when things open up and things get squared away in Japan, Katie, bar the door, because they'll be wanting a lot of stuff from the United States, including rice from California. You think they produce enough for their own? They do not. They import about 25% of California's rice production. They're going to want some meat. I guarantee you beef and pork will be high on their agenda for the people here in the Midwest. With that in mind, folks, that stacks us up for this portion of the Steckline Report, but we've got more coming later. Stay tuned. Nice to have you here today.